Welcome to Breaking Good, the officially unofficial podcast for Breaking Bad on AMC. I'm Jim.
And I'm Aaron.
And we're talking today about Season 2, Episode 1, titled 737.
Yeah, we are.
Why is this titled 737, Aaron?
So many reasons.
One big reason, that's how much cash Walt
needs to clear. It's 11 weeks.
Yeah,
that's doable.
Yeah, that seems like nothing.
It's doable.
You know, that's a few months.
Sure.
Not a big deal.
Nah.
What do you have to tell us about this episode?
Do that in our sleep. We could.
Yeah.
So this is the first episode that Bryan Cranston, the man himself, directed of Breaking Bad.
Oh wow. Okay.
He did 3 episodes total. And this is also the first episode that Kelly Dixon, ace, not cinematographer, editor, she started doing an official podcast that you can get on iTunes. I think there's a URL that has a link to the MP3s of all of them.
Yeah, it's called Breaking Bad Insider if you want to go search for it.
And it's just a really cool behind the scenes. The technical quality is not that great. It kind of much like our podcasts have improved as you go through in seasons. I mean, but it's cool. I mean, you get Vince Gilligan, you usually get the director, you get a couple of stars in the room with Kelly, and they just really talk, hardcore Breaking Bad. And there's a lot of fluff because they have a lot of fun working together, and
a lot of people they need to thank.
It gets
profusely.
Gets a little bit Emmy acceptance speech in there a little bit, but it's definitely something you need to check into. One of the details I gleaned is I guess Vince was nervous about letting an actor direct it. But he said that Cranston was one of the most prepared directors he'd ever worked with. And in fact, at the time, Cranston had as many, if not more, director credits than the Gilligan himself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I thought that was, it's like, yeah, gee whiz,
you don't trust
Vince.
me, asshole.
Yeah, he had directed 7 episodes of Malcolm in the Middle, which was his old, series.
Yep.
He directed an episode of The Big Day, Special Unit, The Office, and he's gone on to direct 2 episodes of Modern Family.
He directed some of The Office?
Yeah. Yeah. Shocking, huh?
Weird.
Now,
okay.
Here's where things get weird. This was written by a man named Jay Roberts.
Okay.
He began his television writing career in 2008 as a staff writer for Breaking Bad. He wrote 2 episodes of Breaking Bad, 737 and Peekaboo, which, no spoilers, but everybody knows Peekaboo.
Yep.
Everybody loves Peekaboo. And then he has never been heard from again. He has not written. He has not a single screen credit. He has vanished from the face of the earth. In fact, there's been some Reddit investigations to try to figure out what the hell happened. As best as I can tell, there was some kind of personal conflict between the writing staff and maybe Vince in particular and him, and he got booted because and
now he's never worked in Hollywood again.
Well, so they named the detective Roberts after him, and they mentioned this in one of the insider casts, like in season 4, and they're like, why didn't you just go ahead and name him Jay? And he's like, because he would have sued us into oblivion, and they all kind of made jokes about him being litigious. So that's the only evidence we have, and he's not worked since. So
wow.
Jay Roberts, if you're out there, send us an email.
Shit.
Send us some email.
Yeah, for sure. I want to know all about that.
I would like to know the story. But yeah, he just got nominated for a Writers Guild Award for Peekaboo. So easy come, easy go, I guess.
Apparently.
Michael Slovis also began his tenure on the show. Now, some people said that they could see an immediate difference in lighting. I'm not that much of a film geek. Maybe the Natterborn could help us out with that. Maybe Shane Bowman can help us out with that because he's along for the ride again. Shane the Bowman has decided that he's going to do another companion series to our Rewatch podcast.
I still don't like the nickname that's just your last name. I still don't like
Especially
it.
It only makes sense if you watched a particular season of Walking Dead. This is a Breaking Bad podcast. But that's the kind of walls we like to break down here on Bald Move.
Sure, yeah.
But you can find him on Heisenberg Chronicles on Tumblr. I, as always, will link to his recap of our recap. And he digs a lot of behind the scenes information, and he takes things just a little bit further. Also, Cerebral.com I have a lot of these Breaking Bad. I think are called Revelations, but I'll be linking those too because they do a really good job of explaining the symbolism and everything behind Breaking Bad. And we touch on a lot of it, but there's just so much.
Oh yeah,
so much.
Okay, are we ready to get into the episode?
I think we're ready to get into the episode, and we've got
we're ready to get into last year's season finale.
And I also want to say for people that are just joining us, that we've obviously seen the whole series, but if this is the first time through, we try to avoid all spoilers. We try to recap this as if we have no knowledge of what comes next. We do have a spoiler section for all you veterans. So after we do the whole recap and all the feedback, we'll play our show music. After the show is technically ended, and you sat through 30 seconds of get the hell out of here music, we will then start the spoiler section where we'll talk about things that happen that are relevant later on in seasons and foreshadowing and all the strip mining of the past and all that stuff. But if you're a newbie, feel free to listen to this episode because we're not going to spoil anything.
Sounds good. Let's get into the episode. We start with an interesting shot. It's black and white. There's a bunch of shots of the White House backyard.
The White
House, White House.
Yeah, I know.
That's what we've got to call it.
I have not made that joke yet.
You've been holding back for
entire season. I don't think I even realized the pun until we were on the Breaking Bad Fest tour.
How
RV
is that
tour,
possible?
And we're talking about going to the White House, and I'm like, oh, shit, yeah, the White House. Okay.
All right.
Hopefully there'll be snipers on the lawn.
So there are sirens in the background, and we see an eye floating in the pool. Like some really weird shit is happening up front in this episode. It gets sucked into the filter, and then we see this burnt teddy bear floating to the top of the pool.
Yes, and this
no idea what's going on here, right?
My background in Breaking Bad, this is the first season I watched live.
Okay.
And I remember seeing this black and white and like, what the hell is going on? And the eyeball, realistic enough that I thought maybe it was a real eyeball.
Yeah, but then you look at it and you're like, how can that be?
Yeah, and then the teddy bear, and it's like super menacing, but also it's like it's burnt. And like you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, this is the
moment. Cold open to the next season. What in the hell?
Sure.
The other thing to keep in mind as you're watching this through the first time, this is the first and only season, according to Vince Gilligan, that he and the writers planned out at a very low level of detail or very high level of detail. To be like, from episode 1 to episode 13 was fully plotted out, very tightly plotted out.
Yeah.
Every other episode they've kind of like gotten in production and like made things up as they go along and kind of tie things together, but this is the
like
first
they
one.
Usually do in TV shows.
This is the first one where they came in and they're like, this is our plan and this is how we're going to execute it.
Yeah. And I guess we can look back at the end of the season and see what we thought about that. Anyway, so then we go back to last season's finale in the junkyard and we see a good 5 minutes of stuff we've already seen.
Sure.
It's Tuco beating his guy half to death and giving Walt and Jesse the money and then taking off. I guess I see why they did it because Breaking Bad at this point is not the super popular hit that it became.
Right.
I see why they went back and they said, okay, we need to give people a little bit of the moment that they were in at the end of last season to get them back into the show. But I don't know that I really liked it, second time through.
Yeah, it did feel to me a little self-conscious. Like Breaking Bad usually has more swagger and more self-confidence. And you're right, there was very few people watching this in the low millions. In fact, it might even been below a million. I'll look that up while we're talking about it. But
yeah, it was super low. I do love the music in this scene, though. I think Dave Porter did a hell of a job on this soundtrack throughout when he's scoring stuff. And it's very atmospheric. It really pulls you into the moment and makes you feel the tension that Walt and Jesse are feeling in this scene, having just witnessed Tuco beating his own man half to death.
Did you think, is none of this information or scenes new? Because I thought that there might have been slightly longer takes of Walt and Jesse's reaction shots. It was not clear to me.
Maybe.
whether and they might have been the same shots, they just held the take longer, or didn't, or edited in such a way that they didn't trim the fat as much.
I'm not totally sure. I mean, I'm sure there's a side-by-side comparison out there somewhere, because Breaking Bad fans like to do that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you for sure. I know that it does cut out before they even get back in the car at the end of last season, right? Like Tuco drives off and that's basically it. Just leaves them standing there. So, you know, then they get in the car and Walt does some quick math to calculate like how much more money he's going to need, how much more meth they'll need to sell before he can make the money he needs to provide for his family. And I noticed in this scene, Jesse is way more disturbed by this than Walt. Jesse is speechless, and the first thing Walt does is go back and start counting money.
Yep.
Adjusting feel
for
like
inflation and calculating.
Yeah, he's doing math in his head about how he's going to put his daughter through college post death.
Sure.
It was interesting to see Jesse's very instant reaction to this and Walt's kind of delayed reaction.
So a lot of people, it's interesting because when I was reading and doing some research, a lot of people were talking like, you know, this just goes to show Jesse's stronger moral character. I wonder. I think maybe I'm open to that. I'm a big Jesse fan myself. I'm on Team Pinkman. But I also want to think that part of this is Walt's temperance. He knows he's not going to have to, whatever he has to go through, he's going to be gone. And this is something that's going to be for his family, you know, for years to come. Whereas Jesse has to live with this, hopefully for a much longer period of time. So I wonder if it's not just so much that he's got the moral backbone, because Jesse, the other thing that I thought was interesting watching these again, because, you know, as I said, my memory of Breaking Bad doesn't really get sharp until like season 4 when we started podcasting it.
Yeah.
It's definitely sharper in season 3, but there's a lot of things I'm sure I'll be surprised in season 2. One of them I continue to be surprised is how prone to violent solutions Jesse is from the get.
Like he goes out and buys the gun.
He's always saying it's them or us. And it seems like he's the one the first, and Walt's trying to like, no, slow down, think. We have to think of some other solution. There's got to be some other way.
Sure, that's the part I love about Walt's character is, you know, he is trying to think about this as a science teacher would.
Sure.
He's trying to break down the components and say, okay, what do we actually need to get this thing done? And it's a lot more thought out and rational than Jesse is just kind of, I'm going to get a gun and I'm going to see what happens.
Right on.
And it's really the kind of the clash of character here that makes this duo interesting, right? I mean, from the jump, it becomes less and less apparent, I think, over time. But I that's the part that I really enjoy, watching these two very different people try to accomplish a similar goal.
Sure.
Makes for good TV. Anyway, so he counts out, I need $737,000 in order to put Haley through college, or his daughter through college after he's dead.
Haley?
Yeah, I know. I can't use that
turned
name.
into Marshall Mathers now?
I know. Sorry. I don't even know if they've used the daughter's name yet, so I'm not going to say it. I can't remember.
I thought that they did settle on... I thought that was one of the things they did last year is they settled on Holly.
Okay. Marie doesn't like that option, but no one likes Marie's option. So.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So before they can drive off, Tuco returns, and he's got his henchman there. He's convulsing, and he wants Heisenberg to save him. And of course he can't, because the guy's been badly beaten. The guy dies, and Tuco tells his bodyguard to go hide him in the junkyard.
Did you remember this scene at all?
Oh yeah.
I see. I did not. Like when they started, you know, taking off in the Captain Cook mobile, and the SUV came roaring back up. I'm like, what the fuck?
You're like seeing this for the first time. That's kind of awesome.
Did they? Because I knew Tuco eventually kidnaps him. I'm like, did he just turn him right around and be like, you guys are? I was truly like had no fucking clue how they're going to get out of that and how they got into it. But it's interesting how poor Nodos took a beating for not being able to take a beating.
Yeah. And then when he died, he took another beating. It's like, how many beatings?
You come breathe into his mouth. They don't do that anymore, which that's true. I was the last time I took a CPR class, I was shocked to learn that it's they no longer teach people to do the mouth breathing. It's just all chest compressions.
Okay.
And it's funny because the guy intimated that it's because people are not, the average person can't remember the number of chest compressions you're supposed to do to breathing. And it's better to, like, I guess there's enough oxygen in your blood to be circulated around through chest compressions alone to keep your brain alive. So I asked him, I said, so is it still better if you're not a moron to do the breaths and the chest compressions? And he's looked at me, he's like, just do the chest compressions. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
He said, just do the chest compressions, moron.
Yeah. And I was like, you don't understand. I want to know which is, but like, I understand you have to make allowances for people being idiots.
But he feels like by telling you that you could be an idiot and that he would be harming somebody. Right?
I guess I should have maybe privately approached him, but I'd still would love to know that. What is it really? It's not better to do the breathing and the chest compressions?
I'm sure we have a listener who will tell us. We probably
we just had a paramedic. Email us on the Watching Dead podcast. So maybe we'll attract some attention there.
The thing that really strikes me in this series of interactions here is the difference between the way Tuco interacts with Walt and the way Tuco interacts with Jesse.
Sure.
Night and day. You can tell that he actually respects when Walt says something, not so much when Jesse says something, right?
However, I do think this is the start of him treating Heisenberg like a little bitch, as he would refer to it.
Sure.
Because I think, last season, he wouldn't shove his partner to the ground just for the heck of it. Like when Heisenberg if Heisenberg brought this guy back from the dead, Tuco might end up working for Heisenberg by the end of this season.
Right. Yeah.
And the other thing is just so Tuco being crazy in a almost psychological sense of the word, not like a maniac, like a criminal maniac, but just being crazy. Do you think that's a more recent development? Because I feel like that Gonzo is truly disturbed at the fact that he beat this guy to death and then is just going to leave him there for the buzzards to get. Like maybe the Tuco has gotten a little too far into his product.
Maybe so. He has been running around screaming tight, tight, tight an awful lot.
He's a degenerate. He'll put anything in his nose that you put in front of him.
Yep. Hopefully including ricin.
Rice and beans.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, Walt and Jesse go to leave. Tuco stops them long enough to get in their faces, throws Jesse to the ground, and then they drive off. I really like the line where Walt's saying, "I think we're done here," and Tuco just gets in Jesse's face and says, "You're done. You're done." That's intimidating.
Yeah. 10 more weeks of this is totally doable.
Sure,
this is not going to degenerate any further.
No, this is week 1. Here's what happened: a man is beat to death. Week 10, no escalation. I hope, even if it stays the same, 10 people beaten to death in front of you is not good.
No.
So we go back to the White House. Skylar is lotioning her face, or lotioning her belly, masking her face. Walt comes home and he goes directly to the TV, and then he's having this episode, as Walt is prone to do, with ringing in his ears and just completely zoning out. And then once she gets his attention, there's a little bit of a rapey scene here. Walt goes a little crazy.
No, I think that you could definitely call that marital rape.
Yeah, for sure.
Although he does stop when she finally says no and forces him away. But no, I mean, that's... she was definitely given plenty of signals for then.
Yeah. He got way too aggressive with it. Because she would have maybe been into it if because she says, like, "Go, give me a second to remove the avocado face," and all that stuff. But then he doesn't stop.
The other thing is the weird energy net scene, because I think when he first came to put his head on her shoulder, I thought that he was going to sob. And then, there again, my memory is a little fuzzy. When he first started, then when he turned it into aggression, I thought that it was going to happen kind of like they've done before, like, the dirty sex out by the police cruiser and a PTA meeting, like the "Is that you, Walt?" at the end of the pilot. I thought it was going to go that way, but it became pretty clear a couple seconds into the situation it wasn't.
Yeah, and Walt is clearly freaking out. About what he just saw. It's now starting to hit him.
And this is the first time that Skylar's met Heisenberg too.
Yes, that specifically when he puts that hat on that shelf and walks into the kitchen.
Yeah, and it's just really awkward, more so than even by season 1 Walt and Skylar standards, energy to the scene.
Yeah. I mean, so Walt just watched a man beat to death in front of him. He's now in business with this man. I feel like Walt is just realizing he's in way over his head at this point.
What do you think he was doing when he came home?
Oh, why did he go to the TV and turn it on?
Yeah.
I'm not sure he knew what he was doing.
See, I thought he was coming home to see if this, like, you know, that I just been a part of a major crime. Is this on television?
He's already looking for it on TV?
Sure. That's what I thought he was doing.
Huh.
He was just frantically trying to see if there's been a murder reported in, you know, whatever.
Yeah, maybe so. And then he just zones out once he doesn't find it.
I'm just saying maybe they should have met at the mall, like Jesse said all along, because I don't think you stuff a body into the mall fountain.
No,
I don't think you beat a man to death at the mall. I don't think your partner gets shoved down to the ground at the mall.
Yeah.
So, you know, Jesse later on, he does his illegal activities right in public.
Just 10 and a half more weeks.
Yep.
And always in public this time.
Yep. No more junkyard meetings. Although it'll be interesting. I mean, you know, obviously it'd be interesting to see what Tuco's reaction would be if after this thing say, hey, meet us at the food court.
Yeah.
Like might be like, you fucking be at the junkyard or I will come looking for you and you'll be dead.
Yep.
You've already lost the upper hand. So
absolutely. Yeah. Tuco has all the power in this, despite the quality of Walt's product. Anyway, so Walt goes out to the pool and Skylar comes out to tell him basically not to take his frustration out on her. And then Walt Jr. comes home and he sees the smudge on the fridge and he's kind of puzzled by that. Did you want to talk about anything at the pool here?
Nah, it's the pool of reflection.
Yep.
As I think Aria over on Cerebral calls it, where all of Walt's serious thinking happens. I did love the transition from the Skylar's green face mask mirrored on the fridge to Jesse eating the bowl of guacamole at the doghouse.
Yeah, where he buys a gun.
Right, which the doghouse have a whole. I mean, it's funny. Ever since we got back from the ABQ Fan Fest, Breaking Bad Fan Fest, I have a much larger appreciation for the set and setting of this place, and it's like, oh yeah, the doghouse. Sure,
I've been there. They don't actually have benches out front.
They don't. It'd been cool if they did.
Yeah. Well, they have a parking lot out front, so
because they're super popular, they're not going to give up that many prime parking spaces.
Been the other thing is,
that place is tiny. And their parking lot is relatively small. Like if they had the benches set up like that, you could get like 3 cars in their lot.
Yep. So Jesse buys that gun, and then the next day at Jesse's house, Walt and Jesse are arguing about. I think they're arguing about whether their lives are in danger at first, and then Jesse convinces Walt, yes, they are. Over the course of that conversation, and then pulls out the gun and says, "We need to take him out before he takes us out." And then Walt kind of breaks down Jesse's plan here in detail.
One question I have for you is, knowing what we know later on in the episode, which is that Tuco was not planning on killing them.
Yeah.
What the hell is Tuco doing? What is his plan here? Why is he
calling them hostage? So I don't know what his plan is after that for the non-spoiler cast.
Why is he calling them 8 times a night?
Yeah, why is he fucking with him?
When did Gonzo get pinned? It seems like that Gonzo dying is what led him. Like I don't think kidnapping them was on his radar until Gonzo died. And then
when did Gonzo die?
I feel like it was that night. Maybe that's when he started calling. That's what I'm trying to establish.
Did he go back to get the body to bury him? Like, what actually happened there?
That must have been that either
he was trying, because it looked like he was trying to pull him out from under the car stack.
Like either Tuco felt bad, and after he came down from his tight, after he's like, you know, I don't feel good about what we did with Nodos. Why don't you go pull him out? You know, now it's dark. We'll give him proper Christian burial.
I feel like Tuco did not say that. I think
I think Gonzo
went on his own and pulled the body. Yeah,
and Gonzo showing up missing just sent the already paranoid, unstable Tuco into
a rage.
Oh God, I've got to, I gotta to kidnap my 2 cooks and do God knows what with them.
That feels to me like what happened. Yeah.
All right.
because during that scene, Gonzo's like, "Oh, we can't do that to him. That's not Christian, man.
Sure.
Can't leave his body out here." So,
not a bad Gonzo.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
All right, have to do some more Gonzo later in the series. Well, Gonzo's Gonzo, so I can't really.
Yeah, I was gonna say, get all your Gonzo you can in this episode, man.
Yeah, no kidding. I'll do the entire outro as Gonzo. All right, so I don't know. There's a lot of put a pin in that stuff here, where Jesse turns it around on him later in the episode. I really like that.
What do you mean by turning it around? Sure.
Because Walt's telling him, "Oh, well, now we'll put a pin in that because you haven't thought it out."
But even in this scene, he stops him up cold, but it's like, Walt's like, it's not that easy. And he said, "Hey, man, Walt, you did it," which I think is one of the few times that Jesse ever calls him by his Christian name.
It is one of the very few times.
In fact, I think this might be the first, but it does not happen very frequently.
I want to say it only happens like one other time.
Because most of the time it's Mr. White. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. And this strategy of, well, how would you do that? Break it down specifically. Be specific. Is it 2 shots or 3? Is it,
I mean, he's right to think this scenario through. I don't know that you need to know exactly like X number of shots, and like you can't put a gun in Walt's hand, and like a little bit of improv is going to have to be there because you can't know the exact situation. But Walt's right to say, okay, how many people are going to be there? Is he going to be with someone else? Is he going to have more bodyguards than you thought? Is he going to take more shots than you thought? How far away are they going to be? All that stuff. I mean, it's stuff you want to think about, but it's stuff you can't necessarily completely plan for.
Yeah, I feel like that for whatever reason, Walt already had something that he just didn't want to do this particular plan. And instead of collaborating, he was just shutting it down.
Yeah, that's how it felt to me too.
Because and that's the thing is like this. It doesn't feel like a partnership. It feels like Jesse is a very low-level employee that's just like, I can't believe you're bringing something to the board. Get the fuck out of here.
Pretty much.
Anyway,
ready to move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, Marie calls Skylar on her way out to work. Excuse me. And leaves her a message inviting her out for dinner. And then Hank follows her out to the car and reminds her about her meeting with Dave, which I think, by the end of this episode, we have figured out exactly what that is. And then on her way out of the driveway, she runs over some poor kid's RC car.
To the sounds of Kenny G, I'm guessing.
Okay, is that what she listens to?
I think it sounds like, that kind of smooth jazz bullshit.
Yuck.
No offense if you like Kenny G, but, smooth jazz bullshit. Marie, in addition to smooth jazz, big fan of Purple.
Huge fan of Purple.
Big fan of Purple.
Like, that's not going anywhere in this series.
No, but I feel like that this is the first time we really were hit in the face with it.
Oh yeah, her whole kitchen's purple. Here's her car.
Here's her outfit. It's just purple.
Purple everywhere. I don't know how she can stand. I don't know how Hank can stand it, frankly. Like just a constant purple palace bullshit going on.
Well, that's probably why he stuck the gun in his mouth in season 3 and blew his head off.
Spoiler alert. I did notice a weird.
That's not that. Just to be clear, that did not happen. I like to fuck with you rookies every once in a while. But now they know definitively that he does not swallow a gun.
Spoiler! Now it's a real spoiler.
Son of a bitch.
He also does not grow wings and fly to the sun. So, spoiler.
No, of course. The wax on his wings dissolved before he got there, and he falls out. I mean,
yeah, he's played Kid Icarus. Anyway, so I noticed the difference in his demeanor when he's dealing with Marie versus really anyone else.
Yeah,
anyone else, or maybe it's just women.
Yeah,
because when he's with Skylar later on, he also has that same.
He has no effing clue what to do.
Yeah. And so he's very delicate when he's around his wife. Like, oh, well, I think you have the meeting tonight. No, don't you remember we moved it? Like, he's not like, Gomez, get in here. We got some shit to do.
Yes, and especially since like he's got no idea how to hold the women in his life accountable or to talk with them as a person, because it's entirely appropriate to be like, look, Marie, you got to see this Dave, or there's going to be consequences. I'm a freaking police officer. I'm swore to uphold the law.
You made a promise to me.
Yes.
You're going to do this.
Yes. There's a way to, hold people to their commitments and not be a complete doormat and not also be an abusive douchebag. And I don't think that Like he's got two throttles.
He does.
One that he uses with his underlings and with the perps and his cages and whatnot, and then how he deals with the people important to him, specifically the women in his life. And
yeah,
he doesn't know. There's no in between.
Yeah, I feel like this is the first time we've seen that side of Hank.
Sure.
So it was interesting. Anyway, he goes into the office and then he takes charge. He orders Gomez into his office,
grabs the perp by the face and shoves him back from the bars for the temerity of asking for his phone call.
I know, right? Asserting your rights. Get out of here. So Gomez shows him some security footage of some masked bandits who we know, of course, are Jesse and Walt, stealing the methylamine out of the warehouse. And they're laughing at how bad they are at it. Just totally inept. It's a barrel, douchebag. It rolls. Like they're so bad. And then they speculate on who it might be.
You know, it's funny because it shows how skilled Gomez and Hank are.
Completely.
Because he knew like right away, oh, P2P cook. Like he's got a lot of the chemistry down and the thermite. And, you know, he's like, this is a lot of book learning, but no street smarts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the college kids inference was entirely a rational leap to make. And he says, you know, that's a lot of methylamine. That's a big score. You're going to step on a lot of toes. Better hope we catch him before the boys from Juarez do.
Yeah, and that's the piece that Walt and Jesse don't understand that Hank does.
Right.
But they're starting to get a taste of that, right?
Right.
With Tuco.
Yeah. There's always a bigger fish.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate when they show, you know, as crazy as Hank can be sometimes and, you know, as inept as he is at some other things, he's great at what he does, which is catch criminals, catch drugs.
Yes, catch drugs.
Catch them, get those drugs off the street.
Yeah.
Maybe Walt should ask him to partner up, right? Like he goes to Hank and he says, hey, Hank, I got a good proposition here, making a lot of money.
Here's what we do.
You know the business. I know the chemistry.
Here's what we do. I will put a small amount of rice in all the meth I make. It's super good and super popular. And by the time, like, you know, 60 days from now, all meth users in the greater Southwest area will just fucking die. And problem solved, right? Dealers go out of business. You know, it's like that's how you win the war on drugs.
Kill
chemical weapons.
All. Yeah. I don't think so. Anyway, Walt goes out to get the paper later that night, and he sees an SUV parked on the side of the road that, when he sees it, starts up and drives off. It definitely spooks him. Just a really short scene there. Then Skylar wakes up because the baby is kicking, and she turns over. Walt's gone, and then we see that Walt's at the window, and he's been up all night. And he's also got a knife.
Yeah, he's been guarding a family with a kitchen knife.
Yeah,
right from the chopping block.
Should have taken that gun, I think, at this point. They really, really dress Skylar down.
I bet the doghouse seems like a place that's open late. Seems like a 2 a.m. joint. I think you could still. It wasn't too late to go get in the Aztec, motor onto the doghouse with a couple $100 and getting yourself a snub nose.
Yeah, but I don't think that opportunity. Are you saying like send Jesse to do that, or
no, dude,
just
like
be Walt, go sit down with $200 and hope a guy with a gun walks by?
I think that's how the doghouse works.
Okay, every hour on the hour.
There's people regularly walking by with brown bags. You see one coming, you kind of like lift up your tray, flash them a bit, and you have a gun. Sure. That's the way it works.
I was
in the ABQ.
I was struck by how dressed down Skylar was in this scene. They take some great pains here to make her look like she is just hanging around the house all day, every day.
Okay,
right.
It's funny because I don't know, man. I found Skylar extremely sexy in this episode.
Well, later on, she looks way better. I'm talking about this
like
scene
even when
particular.
she's like, you know, obviously she's got the guacamole on her face. That's something to look at. But no, I was really impressed by
really,
Anna Gunn in this episode.
Wow, no, she looks
she's just soaking in the tub. I mean, yeah, it's
I don't think you're remembering this particular scene because it was. Ooh, rough.
Okay.
Anyway, Walt tells
real life, man.
I know. Walt tells Jesse about the SUV from the previous night. And then Jesse says it's bad news, and then he shows him that he knows how to open the gun now. Walt pulls out some beans
cracked the case
from his pocket, and he tells Jesse a story about someone being killed by them, and then suggests they use them on Tuco.
Yeah, so that I guess that late 70s story of the Bulgarian journalist, that's actually legit.
Yeah.
And
got him with the umbrella.
Yeah. There was something about in that, and there was a that factored in some kind of Tom Clancy plot too. So like I never imagined that was actually real. That I kind of should have suspected. And I remember when I first watched this, I kind of sat up a little bit up in my chair. I was like, oh yeah, I was kind of familiar with that. But it seems like the perfect murder weapon that you need to kill a crazy person like this.
Sure. I mean, if you can do it covertly, do it.
Yeah. But do you think that Walt is planning on putting this into play right now, or is he going to wait his 10 weeks, his 11 weeks? Is this going to be like the nuclear option that he can call on whenever he needs to?
To me, it felt like in this episode, at some point, he crossed the threshold from being concerned about how he's going to get money to being concerned about how he's going to survive this.
Might have been the all night he spent awake, dreading the appearance of the SUV, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's rational, sure.
Yeah, and especially when he sees that SUV, and I mean that's bad news. I love this scene because it has so much comedy in it. I mean, Jesse is skeptical. His sarcastic, skeptical tone about these beans, like the rice and beans comment.
Yeah, rice and beans.
He's like, how are these beans going to kill anybody? Are we going to grow a beanstalk, climb it, and escape? Like,
so good.
I love that stuff. And the comedy in this episode just continues to get darker throughout.
Sure. This, yeah. Okay.
I mean, there's another scene as well.
Sure.
Where it's pretty dark. Anyway, we go back to Skylar looking at pictures in the nursery, and she finds one of her with some guy. Hank shows up. So is he snooping around the house?
Man, I don't know, because this was awkwardly filmed. If it was Hank, I'm surprised Skylar wasn't like, Hank, why did you come to the door or the window? Or
yeah.
I'm surprised if she thought it wasn't Hank, that she wouldn't say there was just someone at the window. It's really creepy. Maybe it's a meter guy. I don't know, because the shadow seemed a little thin for Agent Schrader to me.
No. Okay.
But it was a bald head. But then again, everyone in this dang show is bald at this point. I don't know. I don't know what we're supposed to take away from that. That Hank just routinely is like snooping around the house until he finds the house they're in and knocks right on.
Yeah,
it's too inefficient to knock on the door.
You're right. It doesn't make a lot of sense that would be Hank sneaking around there.
But Skylar doesn't seem as disturbed by it as maybe she should.
Yeah. So he goes, knocks on the door, and then he comes in and says, hey, he's talking to Skylar, and he pleads with her to basically call Marie and then stop this whole Cold War that's been going on between the two. And then Skylar drops a shoplifting bomb on him, and he drops the bomb right back and says, yeah, I kind of knew about that. And she is livid.
Yeah.
She flips out.
Because we need to support Marie. That's the whole thing, is like,
yeah.
Skylar does do the justifiable self-righteous rage very well. And she's entirely within her rights here.
Completely.
Because Hank is being a complete doofus. Like, it's shocking to me that, he didn't, but that's the thing. He didn't know that this was over to shoplifting. He knew about the shoplifting, but he did not know that
she knew
that she was almost arrested for that. And yeah.
Yeah. This is another scene where I'm not certain that I'm supposed to be laughing here, but they play it a little bit for comedy. Like, Hank is so awkward around Skylar.
It's not funny until at the end when she breaks down crying, and like Hank acts like he's trying to hug a live electric wire. And then, because one of the many things she rants about is a lukewarm, rusty water coming out of the supply. He's like, you want me to look at that supply closet? That's something I actually can do. I emotionally engage with you right now is something beyond my ability.
Yeah. But I'll go turn a wrench.
Is that a euphemism?
No.
Okay.
Turn a wrench.
I don't want you suggesting that Hank would actually
I'm
take
suggesting
advantage
that
of Skylar.
No, that he fixed the hot water heater.
Is that a euphemism?
God damn it.
Damn, Jim. Calm down. Another man's wife and pregnant to boot.
So Walt makes the ricin from the castor beans in a really cool cooking scene. One of the few cooking scenes in Breaking Bad that is not him cooking meth or breakfast. Like those are the three options.
Sure. You're cooking Band-Aid bacon or you're cooking meth. It's very rare that you're making ricin.
For sure. And then they run through their plan to kill Tuco, which is give him meth laced with ricin.
Yep.
It's a pretty good
Poison
plan.
Escante.
Yep.
You think he would notice though?
I don't know. Is there any flavor to?
I just said it looked like
ricin?
the way they chose to portray it in the show is like this yellow powder, and it's just loose in that little teenth. I thought they'd do maybe a better job of integrating it. Maybe.
Yeah, I felt like they were gonna mix that in with meth. Like,
no, it is already mixed in with meth.
it's already mixed in.
Yeah.
Then it completely doesn't look like meth. Like they're making because it's.
I thought it looked like
yellow, and it's. I mean, granted, meth can probably be yellow.
Yeah. But it's the powdery part. There was large crystals, which I thought was the meth.
Okay, all right.
And
then yeah, you're right. They did a terrible job mixing it in.
Okay, but then maybe that's all. That's part of the new recipe. They could just say that. I mean, and as I think Walt's right that he just snort anything that they put in front of him.
Yeah, maybe so. How did it go down when he brought
what
in
if they
the
like did a Pulp
mercury?
Fiction and they just like made a big cube of course, this is me being completely ignorant of drugs. What if they just made a big cube of heroin, like crush that, snort it, and you go Uma Thurman right away?
All right. Well, does he do heroin? Does he sell heroin?
Well, I just feel like
sell meth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't. Even if you build up a tolerance, I think if you snort a certain amount, you're still going to die.
Sure. Well, what are you saying? Like make some super potent meth?
No, like
he'll do?
Literally just do in Pulp Fiction, just heroin.
What if he doesn't do heroin?
That's a powder, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, don't tell him it's like if he will snort anything you put in front of his face.
I don't know that he will though. Like,
do you have to get the castor beans out and reduce them to ricin, or can't you just like have him? There's a lot of lethal things you can have a person snort that you can get on the street. I feel like
you're right, but I don't know that he will snort anything you put in front of him. He will certainly snort meth.
Like a cinder block.
Yeah.
He just crushes that up with his knife. Ah,
it's the best high ever. Yeah, and here's where Jesse comes in with, well, let's put a pin in that comment to get back at Walt.
Yep.
Which I liked. Then Hank calls Walt to apologize for getting Skyler so worked up. Walt, of course, has no idea what he's talking about at this point. But then in what I consider is a stroke of genius in storytelling, in the way they unravel this piece of information here, he sends a picture of the crime scene he's at to Walt and Jesse, and it's the junkyard where they met Tuco. So like we as an audience don't see that until Jesse and Walt see that.
Right.
And I don't know, the way they unravel that information is just perfect to me.
Yep.
Because we feel very much in Walt and Jesse's situation there. Walt decides he's going to take the gun. Jesse tells him, no, I want the gun. But Walt says, no, you need to leave town. I need the gun to protect my family. And Jesse grabs his money. Walt races home.
Which is a fair point. Jesse's got nothing to time there, and he could vamos. And yet Walt still has something as big secret. He can't just be like, hey, let's go on a vacation.
Yeah.
I'm crazy cancer dad, and we're not going to get another shot at this. Let's go.
Sure. I have a question related to that I will ask you at the end of this episode. Or actually, no, at the end of, right at the end of this episode.
Okay.
So all's quiet when he gets home. Skyler's in the bath, and Skyler's trying to talk to him, but Walt's packing up money into a diaper box.
Yeah, and did you skip the part about Jesse having a bug out bag just full of his cash?
I said he grabbed up his money.
Okay.
But yeah, so do you think he was preparing for that option anyway?
I don't know. It just seems like a good idea to have all your ill-gotten cash in one spot. I actually think that
and hidden.
The only reason Walt's doing that is because he can't afford Skyler to just be, cleaning up or nesting or organizing and come across $70,000 in cash.
Right.
Oh yeah, Gretchen. She insists on paying me in fat dealer stacks. Rubber band banks is how her and Elliot like to do their cancer drug therapy charity.
Yeah, you know, they're in the chemistry business. It's a cash business.
Oh yeah, lots of cash, lots
Small
of cash.
bills. Anyway, so I like the reversal here where he goes into the house. He's the one calling Skylar's name this time. She's not answering him. It's kind of a reverse of the opening scene. Not the opening scene, but the time where she does that in this episode.
But then he reverses right back because just as she starts haranguing him about where he's been, he just Batman's, disappears to check on his cash, and then it's right back to Walt. Walt,
he does.
Come talk to me, Walt. Like, can the man not to be like, yeah, in a minute, like, do you think he actually hears her? Because I when he's flipping through the channels, he had the whole, ooh, he was not hearing her.
That's fair.
But I feel like he was hearing her. Why wouldn't he say something like, I got a nosebleed? Or like, why can't he just tell an easy lie to put her at, I guess I feel like a hole just thinking about that. But
yeah,
ignoring her,
you're probably right.
Like,
and he does too, right? Like after the 100th time she calls him, he's like, I'll be right there.
Well, here's the thing. How close was Walt to coming clean to her?
Super close.
I felt like we almost wrapped up the series in 8 episodes when he sat on the edge of the bathtub.
He was ready. He said, where do I even begin? And he was about to begin.
Yeah. And then headlights happen.
So that's the thing. Let's talk about this diaper box a little bit. It seems to me like Walt's plan is to come clean to Skylar, tell her they're in extreme danger, take that box and leave with his family.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why else he packs up that diaper box.
That's a good point. Well, see,
and we know that plan gets interrupted, of course.
See, interesting. I thought that he was going to bug out with his family on some pretext and then hide the money, so in case anyone cased their house, they wouldn't find it. But your suggestion actually makes a lot more sense.
Like, how do you explain to your wife as you're carrying a diaper box out like for your unborn child, you're carrying a diaper box?
No, I'm saying
out
he
the
would
door
leave it behind and just take his family to come back at a later date when he's taking care of Tuco, maybe. But I don't know. I mean,
maybe I don't know why he even bothers getting it out in the open.
I'm throwing that away. I like your suggestion way better.
Okay. Then we go over to Hank, who's investigating that crime scene that he's at in the junkyard. And he basically determines exactly what happened to the victims. He gets in there. They rip the arm off this guy. He says he was rummaging around, pulling the body out, and the stack shifted.
Get a photo with me and Stumpy.
Yeah, make sure you get the stump in there.
I haven't quite got the Hank laugh.
Yeah, it's got to be Weasley. It's got to be
a little bit more Weasley.
Yeah. That scene was funny in a kind of morbid way.
Sure,
but that's Hank.
I think it's a lot of. I don't know. Have you ever read Killing Pablo?
I saw the documentary based on it.
Okay, so it's about the same. It's written by Mark Bowden, I think, is the same guy that wrote Black Hawk Down.
Okay.
And he just makes like the drug cops out to be like freaking Wild West cowboys. Like they posed with Pablo Escobar like he was a deer that they had just brought down. Like he's his belly's laid out and he's got bullet hole and they're just all like posing with their guns and
yeah.
You know.
Sounds. I mean, I don't know. Did they do that with Osama bin Laden? I seem to recall a couple pictures similar to that.
Really?
Not quite that level, but
I was gonna say the SEALs posing with them. No, I think it's like that because that nowadays they probably would never let that picture out. Those days, like according to Bowden, several like DEA and CIA joint like chiefs had that picture like mounted on their wall in their office. That's how he was aware of it. But no, it's interesting how you see your adversary, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, to them, they are hunting this person.
Yeah.
You know? It is a big game trophy for them. Skylar tries to talk to Walt here. And, like we said, he's near confession, but then he sees Jesse's headlights out the window. He goes to investigate and Tuco takes him hostage. Tuco's got Jesse and Walt at the end of this episode.
Indeed.
What do you do here, man? I mean, on one hand, he's got his wife in there. The gun and the money are in a diaper box in the nursery. We know that Skylar has been rummaging around in that nursery. And on the other hand, you've got a guy with a gun telling you to get in the car right now.
Well, I'm a big fan of the whole buckle in, front seat, step on the gas and hit a telephone pole. I would have been all in on that plan. Love it when that plan comes together.
You've done that to me just going to lunch.
Sure, man.
In the middle of the day.
Notice you're not buckled in, I'll brake check you. Boom.
Enjoy
your concussion. No, I think that would have been interesting, but no, I have no idea. And that's I kind of expected a little bit of letdown in detention. And from the first episode, they got you by the balls, twisting hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nonstop.
Sure.
Did you notice? Because I said this last year, and I feel like it wasn't true, and I thought, like, man, maybe I was wrong. But Dave Porter did have a custom theme remix at the end of this episode.
Huh. Okay.
So if you're watching on Netflix, starting season 2, apparently, if you ignore its urging to go on to the next episode, have to go back up and select the box, you can listen to his custom arrangement. And I don't know they're all like that, because I think some of them end in either silence or some of them end in like a particular licensed piece of music. But apparently anyone that doesn't end like that, he's written a completely unique score based on the theme song for each one.
That's cool. I don't know how he does it for 50-something episodes.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get a little bit of, because I couldn't really get a flavor for this one. It felt a little twangier, like a country westerner or a bluegrass version, but not quite that bluegrass either, like a Southwest bluegrass.
Yeah,
but I have no idea, because he first alerted me to this during a late season 4, maybe early season 5 interview. And of course, AMC, you never ever got to hear any of that, because it was always fast forward credits and next time on. So I'm actually going to try to go through and see if I can get any themes or figure out what he's trying to do here.
No, that's cool. And that's the end of the episode, man. I really like this as a season 2 opener. I think it sets up the drama and the problems that Walt and Jesse have really well. And
also, don't sleep on the opening black and white, because I remember seeing that for the first time and just how unnerving and how mysterious and how badly you want to know what in the heck, how is this relevant? How is this Walt's pool? What is going on here? Yeah, I feel like showing the audience something that's a little weird and mysterious goes a long way. Yeah. And they did that effectively at the beginning of this. Sure. Shall we pay some bills, man? Yes, please. So if you like what we're doing here at Breaking Bad, part of it and doing here includes rewatches of Breaking Bad. There's a lot of ways you can support us, because we honestly need your support. We're full-time podcasters, and our bills don't pay themselves. Oh, how we wish they would. One of the great ways to do so is with our Amazon affiliate link. We know it's coming up on Black Friday and Digital Monday and Tuesday, and just everybody's making that this thing is becoming like Black Week pretty soon. And you could go out and fight the crowd.